Okay, our second narrative, or the metaphor that we learned about in the introductory chapter, we said was the world is an automatic machine. And here the idea is that we live in a universe in which, starting from simple gases like hydrogen and helium and the laws of nature, that more complicated things can form, like stars and planets. And on some of those planets, life can emerge. And when life emerges, it undergoes evolutionary change. And so this worldview then sort of captures the idea that you don't need an intelligent mind sort of guiding or designing things. That all you need are some raw materials and laws of nature, and over time you'll get this increase in complexity, and you'll get all kinds of interesting things emerging in the universe. Now this view is associated with Charles Darwin's view, and we could say David Hume's view as well, because there is no role here for that divine intelligence, the one that Paley would have a spot for. So if we now focus on the evolutionary story as seen by Darwin, here we have the same three organisms that we did with the Paley diagram, except we'll see that some notable differences here. So we've got humans, chimps, and the giraffe. Notice that the human and chimp ancestry lines converge, right? So unlike the Paley situation, where the human and chimp lines were parallel, they never converged all the way back to God. In the Darwin view, humans and chimps had a common ancestor. And so Darwin's going to be arguing that this common ancestor was one species, and that some individuals of that species went on to change into present-day humans, and others of that species at that time went on to change into current chimpanzees. Now notice, if that's really happening, then Darwin has to abandon the idea of an essence. Remember, the essence was that set of defining features that each species had, sort of like the definition of a circle. It gives us the defining features of the thing. And Paley argued that species had an essence, but if that's the case, they couldn't change. Darwin has to reject the idea of an essence, because he's going to be arguing that species do change over time. In fact, one species can split into two species. Now, a couple of things to note here. This common ancestor down here is not a human, right? Humans are a present-day species, and neither is this common ancestor a chimp. The chimps are species today. Now, this common ancestor might have looked something like a chimp, but we wouldn't want to classify it as today's modern species of chimp. It does raise a question, why such change in this pathway and seemingly less change here? Nevertheless, the biologists are going to argue there has been plenty of change in this pathway, but just the appearance, right, and some of the characteristics are more similar to the ancestor here, and the humans are a little bit more different than the common ancestor here. And if we broaden our view to the giraffes, again, the Darwinian story is that humans and chimps share a common ancestor with giraffes, right? So at some time, even in the more distant past, there was a species, some of whom went on to evolve into this branch on the tree, and some of whom evolved into modern-day giraffes.